You and your pretty antlers here. All right. Hey, everybody. Woo! This is going to be a thing. He keeps putting his head down looking for meatballs. We'll put them up here. How about that? Hey, everyone. Denise Mazzola here with Geo. We are from Everything Dog, and it is a little past 12 on Monday. And today we are talking about what your dog is saying to you. I hope everybody is, before I get into that, I hope everybody is doing your shopping if you're inclined to do so. I think, so much is going on in life and in the world, I have forgotten where we are. So I'm pretty sure last week was the week I told you that Amy had some symptoms of COVID. She tested negative, so we're all set. We have been fairly back to normal, doing a lot of virtual consults and dog training. And you guys, virtual is the way to go because everybody makes so much more progress on our virtual sessions. It's crazy. And there's several reasons for that. For the group classes, you get a private Facebook group where you can post questions and videos. So you basically have access to the instructor, either Amy or myself, for 5 days a week for 6 weeks, not just on the class day. And because you get to post videos, we get to review those videos with you, which is awesome. So there's a lot of magic in the online arena in dog training. And I know that I think a lot of people have really felt like maybe that's not the case, but it is. So give it a shot if you haven't tried it already. We would love to work with you and help you guys out. All right, so today I am going to talk about, hey, Mary from Amarillo, good to see you here. Your dog is communicating, excuse me, all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. So, Jesus, Gio acts like he's never eaten today. We've just been doing a lot of errands. I think we need we need one that would fasten under his head a little bit more so the antlers will stay on. So listen, let me know where you're from. I see that Mary's on from Texas. Give a shout out. Let me know where you're from. If you've got questions, I'm always happy to answer them. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay, so ask away early on. I'm not going to be on more than 10, 20 minutes. So today I want to talk about on dog, what is your dog saying to you? Your dog's behavior is not random. They are not randomly doing things. They're not randomly biting people or other dogs. They're not randomly fighting. They're not randomly jumping on you, jumping on your counters, running away, going to the bathroom in the house. Whatever the behavior is, it's not a random one. Just like our behavior is not random, I'm not sitting here flailing around, hitting Geo or, doing random things with my body. It's not. Our behavior is not random. If Tourette's or some other things, that's a different story, but that's not what I'm talking about. And so your dog's body language is not random either. And yet we do so much anthropomorphizing of our dog's behavior. It's a big, funny word, and all it means is that we apply our human emotions onto our dogs. So when you don't understand what your dog is saying, when you don't know why they're doing what they're doing, then we put it through our human lens, our humanness, and we project it out onto the dog as a way of making sense of what is happening. It's completely understandable that we do that, but you guys, we need to knock it off, particularly with aggression or some of the more serious issues. So I talked to some folks last week, and interestingly, one of them said, oh, well, our dog always lets us know when he is unhappy about something because he'll start countersurfing, jumping up on the counter and eating. Hey, Sherry from New Hampshire, good to see you. He'll start eating things off the counter. And I'm like, what? I said, that has nothing to do with being unhappy or dissatisfied with something. They're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, dogs countersurf because it's great it produces a lot of food for them. They put their feet on the counters, they get loaves of bread, they get cake, they get pizza, they get napkins, they get the butter dish, whatever it is. They get a lot of stuff off the counter. It has nothing to do with being unhappy about a situation. And the look on this individual's face was priceless because it is so ingrained in their brain that the reason the dog jumped on the counter was to let them know they weren't happy with something. I'm like, no, that's not what's happening. Hang on, Gio. And they had a really hard time sort of seeing what they were doing. They had a hard time taking a 30,000 foot view of their dog and just saying, oh, your dog's a dog. Like, so let's say, I can't think of another animal. Well, like if you're, would you say that about a chicken? Would you say that about any other animal on the planet that, oh, the reason my horse bucked me off was because she wasn't happy with me today? Would you say that about a horse? I don't, maybe people do, but I wouldn't say it. I would say, no, the horse either is a bucker or hadn't been ridden for a while, so they get a little, carried away, whatever, but they're not, it is not really about us. We tend to make our dog's behavior all about us, and it really has nothing to do with us. It has to do with your dog, what your dog has learned works for them, and what doesn't work. So sometimes when we're sitting here like this, Gio will start to yawn. And when he does, I pointed out that yawning is a sign of stress. And so why would Gio be stressed sitting here in a chair next to me talking to you guys? Well, because I have a bowl of meatballs that are over here on this table out of his reach. And I have meatballs up on the camera to keep him looking up at you guys. And today I've put this ridiculous headpiece on him. So that could cause him some stress. So we might see some yawning from him. When I adjusted it, he did a little lip licking. See that? That's not random either. That's a little stress as well. So I will feed him. So let's just talk about aggression. Like if you have a dog that has any kind of aggression history, fighting, lunging, growling at you, other dogs, a resource guarder in the house, you can't take things away, the dogs steal things, whatever it may be. The dog isn't doing it to you, and there's a lot of things, there's a lot of behavior, there's a lot of body signals that the dog will demonstrate before the growl happens, before the lunging happens, before the bite happens, okay? So if you're walking your dog outside and you know they're reactive to other dogs, the first thing you might see is a hard stare where the dog is just like, closes their mouth, they're not panting anymore, and they're directly laser locked on to the person, the dog, the squirrel, whatever it is. That's your first signal. That's the dog communicating to you. Wow, I see that blank, that person, that dog, that squirrel, super interested in it. Maybe you say, Fluffy, Fluffy. You try to get the dog's attention. Nope, still laser locked on, still communicating to you that you are no longer really in their operant brain, that they want to, they're more interested in these other things. Then you may have pulling on the leash. If the thing gets close enough or you get close enough to the person or the dog or whatever it is, you may get growling and lunging. But there's a lot of things that happen before that. And you may see yawning, you may see lip licking from your dog, you may see turning their head away, just like Gio just did. All of that is communication. It is not random. So I think the dog body language, I mean, what dogs are saying with their body language, I love dissecting. I love looking at videos and sorting it all out. There are some basics, but it's also, it can be complicated in that there's a lot of things that are going on. If your dog's head, shoulders, and hips are all in alignment, that's very stealthy. That's much more of a serious approach than if they were wiggly or sideways or doing something else with their body, right? So it can be as technical, I guess, as the alignment of their head, shoulders, and hips. versus what we call a C position, where the dog may be turning their body in and out of a C, which is very soft, very friendly, very open, very inviting. So let's just talk about some of the main things that you may see. Yawning. Everybody should watch their dog. Take out your phone, have it ready for some yawning. They're not yawning because, well, I'm not going to, he just took it off. I'm going to stick it on. Now, you've got, and let's crooked. Let's see. Sorry, technical difficulties here. I need a producer. So yawning does not mean they're tired. So watch when your dog yawns. If you're house training a dog, house training dogs that are learning to go to the bathroom outside often yawn when they start feeling like they have to go to the bathroom, but they're inside, but they don't necessarily know how to ask to go out. Okay, so yawning, scratching at the collar all of a sudden, not for puppies and not necessarily if your dog is new to wearing a collar, but scratching at the collar is a sign of stress. And then your job is to sort of look backwards in 20/20 vision and say, what is causing the stress for my dog right now? Sometimes it's just, I want the food, I can't get it, like Geo here. And other times it's, it might be something more serious. All right, off of the antlers, let's try the hat. This one might be better. What do you think? I think that one's better. It's got a chin strap, so it'll be easier to stay on. Although I don't know that he's thrilled about it either. So yawning is a sign of stress. Watch for that in your dog. If you can capture a video of it and post it to whatever page you're looking at, that would be awesome. We'd love to see that. So scratching the collar, yawning, and another one you might see frequently is a genital check, where they start to lick themselves. Now, if your dog has any kind of, urinary tract infection, vaginitis, whatever, then no, licking may be a sign of a health issue. But often, all of a sudden, a dog needing to sort of check their private parts is also a sign of stress. So look at these things. You may not really comprehend that the situation your dog is in is stressful until you start watching for these stress signs, and then you're going to go, isn't that interesting? So Amy used to take her dog, Big Mama Jubilee, to the local jail for a monthly program, sometimes with the men, sometimes it was with the women. The program was about half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And when Amy would notice two things that Jubilee would do when she was about at the 45-minute mark, she would start to get obsessively humping. So she'd get, if the guys just tried to pat her or something, she would like jump on their legs and start humping them, which was sort of funny, but also very inappropriate in a jail. And she would start to obsessively lick herself. And Amy would be like, okay, it's time to wrap this up and get out of here because Jubilee is stressed out. Now, in that situation, really the only way to relieve the stress was to get her out of the jail, right? Because it was in a particular room. Amy couldn't just like open the door and take her for a walk and get her distressed like that. And given that she was in a jail setting in a confined room, and Amy, it was necessary to relieve Jubilee's stress at that point. It wasn't one of those things where we're going to work through it. When we do our in-person group classes, or when we did, we won't be doing them till the spring, but when we did our in-person group classes, we would watch for clusters of stress signals from the dogs in class. That might be yawning, scratching the neck, not eating all of a sudden, doing genital checks. And when we saw a cluster, 3 or more, we'd say to the person, hey, I've noticed that your dog is stressed out. These are the signs that I'm seeing. Why don't you just step out for 60 seconds, take them a walk around the parking lot, see if they'll shake off, because a full body shake off is a release of stress, which is awesome. And then come on back in, let's see how they do. And some dogs in an in-group class just cannot do a full hour. They're like 45 minutes and done it. Group classes are very stressful for dogs, which is another reason why online classes are so beneficial. Your dog never has to get all stressed out with 4, 5, 6, 8 other dogs in the room, depending on where you go. We only would have 5 or 6 dogs in a room total. So watch for those signs of stress. Of course, not eating. Anybody that has a reactive dog or a dog that you're trying to use treats outside, if your dog won't eat, there are two things to try. You need to up the value of the food. So if you're using kibble, dog treats of any type, swap those out for chicken. Meatballs is what I'm using. Excuse me. Meatballs is what I'm using with Geo. I'm breaking this up into smaller pieces, obviously. Cheese sticks, and see if your dog will eat that. If you're using these high value foods, chicken, cheese, meatballs, whatever, and your dog will not eat, then they are very stressed out in whatever situation that you are in, and you need to find a way to relieve the stress so that they can eat and therefore they can learn. So if it's an outdoor situation, you may need to go further away from whatever it is, so from the dog. If you're trying to do some counter conditioning with a dog, reactive dog, you may need to go further away from that dog until your dog will eat. Same thing with people. If you're trying to do some counter conditioning around people so your dog can stay a little more focused on you, if you're using the chicken, the cheese, and the meatballs and those kinds of things, your dog will not eat outside, then you need to go further away as well. Okay, you guys, short and sweet today. Your dog is communicating all the time. And I would love to see some videos of what your dog is saying. So video, maybe a play session with somebody in the family, another dog, video, something happening outside, looking out the window, whatever it is, and whichever group you're looking at this, you're watching this, except for on YouTube, you won't be able to post a video on YouTube. Post a video below, tag me in it so I can take a look at it, and let's look together and determine what your dog is saying. Because there are stress signals that in a certain context means the dog is stressed. There are play signals that mean the dog is asking to play. So everybody, I think, understands the play bow, front end down, back end up. A paw raise can be a play signal. Pawing at the other dog can be a play signal. A loose body hip check can be a play signal, right? And then there's appeasement signals. We often think that our dog's appeasement signals are the dog saying that he knows he did something wrong or that he feels guilty. Those are not doggy feelings. Your dog is not a moral being. Hey, you can't even see out. You're so busy today turning your head. Your dog does not know right from wrong. They know what works and what doesn't work. And so there just isn't any right and wrong. But appeasement signals, when the dog puts their ear back and gets really low and maybe tucks their tail and tries to slink away, we often think he knows he did something wrong. He feels guilty. Your dog does not feel guilty. He or she is reacting to your body language, which can be threatening to your dog, particularly if you're making eye contact, you've raised your voice, you're waving your hand or pointing or whatever. So there are all kinds of body signals. Let's take a look at some together. Post your videos below, give me a tag in them, and let's dive in and dissect some of this, you guys. All right, Gio and I will see you next Monday. We'll see if we can get something else on them that might stay a little bit better. But otherwise, have a great week. I'm going to end in